Okay, Ade. Thank you for joining me today for my second client conversation. So you are client number 2, and the purpose of this conversation is to really understand a bit more about your coaching journey with me, so that somebody who is thinking about what that would look like for them has an understanding from the client's perspective. So I'm just going to be asking you some questions, ask you to think about, as I said, what your coaching journey looked like, what you got out from it, what went well, what you learned, what didn't go well, and we'll just see where the conversation goes. Okay.
Thank you for having me. It'll be a pleasure.
Welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so let's start off by you sharing a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we can go from there.
Right, my name is Ade Ogunyomade. I'm 57 years old. I had to think a little bit about that. And I work as a consultant ophthalmologist with King's College NHS Trust. I actually work at the Princess Royal University Hospital in Orpington. What was the other thing?
Just anything you want to share about who you are.
I'm married, be 29 years married in tomorrow, actually.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
I have 3 adult children, 28, 20, and 19, who I love to bits. Right, so when I decided I needed some coaching, because last year I hit a major sort of depressive peak where I'd sort of just gone very much into myself, become quite insular and contracted, even though I had an idea. I knew really what the real me was supposed to be about, but I didn't have it within me to reach out for that person and to own it. And I just felt disempowered, disengaged, and a bit inauthentic, because even though I had a vision for my life, I didn't know how to latch on and engage with the process. I felt that I was being inauthentic and that I was a failure. And I say inauthentic in the sense that I had a vision, I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't seem able to actually put processes in place to help me to begin to realize that. So yeah, that's where I was when I decided that I needed a coach.
Yeah, so I remember, I think one of the words that you used was stagnation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was not moving forward, just feeling like you were stuck, and as you mentioned, you couldn't take those steps. You would try to take the steps forward and then something would happen, and I guess every time you did that, it just made you feel worse about yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you were looking for coaching, I guess what led you to choose coaching? Why coaching?
Why coaching? I had a bit of coaching in the past that I'd found very useful, and that was more in the sense of getting in touch with myself, who I really was, what I wanted to show up as in the world, and that had been very useful. So I had quite a clear concept as to who I think I really am and what I want to do, etc. But then I'd gotten into a space where I had contracted myself. So even though I knew who I wanted to be or who I want to be becoming, I couldn't, there seemed to be a little bit of a void between that and who I was actually showing up as to myself. So I didn't feel like I was showing up at all. I felt disengaged, disempowered, and contracted within myself rather than expansive and moving towards what I think or thought that I should be. And so I felt I needed, clearly, the way it was going, I didn't feel that I was able on my own to make that connection. And I felt that there had to be some deeper seated things within that I hadn't been able to address or pull out of myself and therefore deal with, so that I could be becoming the person that I wanted to be. So I needed help to sort of find those things, address them, and help me to latch back on, if you like.
Okay. Yeah. So what led you to think about coaching with me then?
Well, I think like I said, I'd had some life coaching, but I was really looking for someone with the kind of background that you have. And I met you online, and I met you I think it was more about women empowerment things that made me come across some of your posts, and I enjoyed reading some of the things you'd written and other people on your wall. But then I was really wanting someone with a background in psychology, or who had done some sort of psychology, NLP, and you talked about cognitive hypnotherapy. I had also had cognitive behavioral therapy in the past from a previous depressive episode, which I found more useful than anything else. So the fact that you have a background in psychology, and you were talking about cognitive behavioral, cognitive hypnotherapy, which I thought, as a Christian, I don't know about this hypnotherapy malarkey, but that word cognitive, it spiked my interest, and also the fact that I didn't want another sort of lifestyle guru or let me help you understand your vision, because that's not the space where I was at. I just wanted someone who could help me reach inwards to find out what it was that was keeping me stuck and stagnated, and help me move on towards what I wanted. So I did think long and hard about it. I even put a Facebook post up that I needed a coach, and quite a few people did respond. I don't remember if you, Florence, responded, but you kept coming into my mind, and I prayed about it, and I just felt settled that actually I'll read everything and all that, but I had sort of fairly quickly made up my mind that I think I'm going to go with you. And then I think I asked a few questions about what the hypnotherapy bit was about, because I needed to be sure that that sat well with me, with my Christian beliefs and that. And I think you came back to me, and that it resonated with me, and that's why I decided to go with you.
Yeah, great. I remember all of those things, actually. I think I actually sent you a video and a blog post that I'd written on my perspective of cognitive hypnotherapy. Yeah. Okay, so you had clear goals, clear vision of what you wanted to get out of coaching. Do you mind just briefly summarizing what those were?
I think my main goal was to get out of a place where I was in a rut, feeling down and badly about myself, not being able to connect with the vision that I had of myself and my life. And I really just wanted to be able to get back in connection and authenticity and flow back into what I thought that where the direction and the flow in which I should be going.
Okay. So how did you find the process of coaching with me?
I actually loved it. I found it, particularly in the beginning, I found it very, very stressful at times, not in a bad way, but just in the way that, how do I put it? The shoe was on my foot, basically, to really, really dig somewhere deep inside of myself that I it was just no, I think stressful is the wrong word. It was uncomfortable having to go right on the inside and pull up things that I had to come face to face with and actually think through for myself. I think that the main thing was that you made me find my own answers, and that was uncomfortable at times, but I was always relieved, isn't really quite very, very happy that I was being able to dig deep and work things out, and then sort of think differently, and in some of my approaches and the ways that I used to analyze things and speak to myself about myself and my future, that were very unhelpful to me as a person. There's some sort of patterns of thought, if you like, in being able to become expansive and to move on. So yeah, it was uncomfortable, but yes, at the same time, it was great because I really did get to expand, understand me, understand where I was coming from, and be able to look towards, which really empowered me, and which has put me in a much more positive and enabling space, because I think I was not enabled before I started coaching at all.
Okay, fantastic. So what do you think then was your most challenging part of coaching?
I think one of the major breakthroughs for me was sort of being able to see from my past, from my childhood, where certain patterns of behavior and certain fears had seeped in and were really actually, without my knowing it, the reason or reasons why I would get to a point and then I would get stuck each time. And I remember that one of the exercises was some deep meditative hypnotherapeutic thing where I had to go back to my past and find out when was the first time that I felt a certain way. That was deeply challenging, but at the same time deeply liberating for me. So yeah, I think that would be, that going back to go forward.
Yeah, it's a bit strange how that works, but it
works.
It does work, yeah. Okay, so what do you think is a major lesson that you learned during the process of our coaching together?
I think for me, the major thing and the main thing, which is still my main takeaway, is that I'm on a journey, and it doesn't really matter if there are little setbacks within the journey. Forward is forward, and every little part of the journey adds to who I am, and I need to enjoy the journey, to enjoy the process, rather than count my successes in absolutely not black and white is not really the right word, but the right phrase rather. It's more like I was very, very cut and dried in my approach, if you like, to goals, to life. For instance, set myself a goal that I would have walked 50 steps by this evening. If I'd done 49, I would be absolutely horrified and hard on myself and calling myself all sorts of negative names about, you said you were going to do 50, you've only done 49, I mean, whereas never acknowledging the fact that I did get up, I did go for those steps, and I managed to do one short of 50. Well done, you did it. You just need to do X, Y, Z to try and make it 50 and just work on that. I looked at huge pictures. I never really broke down anything into bite sizes or things that I could manage, and therefore I was disempowering myself because I was looking at the big picture, the end game, and not allowing any space for acknowledging how far I was coming along the line. And I think coaching with you really made me see that you start with the end and then you go back to the beginning and you break it down into manageable chunks. And as long as you were consistent and moving forward, some days might not be so great, some days might be better than others, but overall you can see that you're going from point A towards point Z, that was good, and that was to be celebrated, and that was to be enjoyed, and the person that you were becoming through the process was more important than actually achieving some huge goal.
That's really powerful, actually. I do remember how difficult it was for you to let go of the end result, and that negative self-talk that came as a result of you feeling like you weren't where you wanted to be. How do you feel like this learning has changed or transformed your life and who you're being in your life, in the different facets of your life?
I think it's completely changed me, actually, because I am a lot more forgiving of myself, and what that translates to, I don't think I've ever been too judgmental on people, but it does give me a certain amount of extra empathy with people, and it has allowed me also to open up to a lot more people than I did actually before coaching, and just encourage them along their way, and let them know that they're doing great. Whatever it is they're doing, they're taking that one step, and that is great. So it's helped me with my kids. It's helped me with me as a person along my journey. It certainly helped with my relationship with my spouse, which was great anyway. But I think I've become a lot more expansive, less hard on myself, less negative, and possibly a much more pleasant person to be around, I think. But I think one of the major things I found is that it has just opened up lots more opportunity for me to be an encourager, which at heart and in spirit, that is very much who I am as a person. But I've found that I'm doing a lot more without even realizing that I'm doing it. Even at work and, wherever I find myself, there's always something there that, wherever opportunity allows me and presents itself, that I'm able to give, which for me is a delight as well to myself.
Yeah, because actually that was an area that you were wanting to do work in, but you were also struggling with that as well before, weren't you?
Yes, I was. So now, I mean, one of the most amazing things that has actually come out of that, because I know that I share this huge vision about, helping the less fortunate young girls, women in societies where the opportunities aren't really there, like back where I come from originally in Nigeria and Africa in general. But I didn't know, I'm a doctor, I'm not a teacher, I don't know anything about education, blah, blah, blah. But more recently, out of the complete blues, a friend of mine from church messaged me and said that she was moving, and also another lady who started this thing in church with young girls called Flourish. Now, I go to this church. I've known about there is something called Flourish, but it has never occurred to me to be a part of that. In my journey in church, I've been into the music. I've done Sunday school, which I loved for many, many years. So I'm apt to teach and all of that. But it never has occurred to me, even though I have this vision for young women, that perhaps I could do something in church with young women. Don't ask me why, it just hasn't. So this lady, her name is Sarah, she says she's moving away, Zoe's wanting to take a back seat, and that she was praying about it, and I popped into her mind. Now, for me, that can only be God, because, you know, I've never shown an interest, but actually it is what I'm all about. And then I asked her what it was about, and she said that these are just young ladies in the community who meet once a month on a Sunday for the 2 services, and it's real life issues like promiscuity, drugs, relationship issues and all of that, and that she might do a talk, or they might take them out one-on-one, or they might do something fun together, etc. Really, at the basic core of my soul, that is exactly what I want to do, to encourage young women and women in general, and girls, to just see themselves the way God made them in all their multifaceted glory, and to just be, and to be invited, as it were, like that, to share of that and be part of that is such a delight to me. And I think that if I hadn't come this far, I'm not so sure that that opportunity would have opened itself up, because I truly believe that God matches you with what you can handle. And that I also see that as an anchor and a link to what is coming in the future, because it's a real opportunity for me to see how I can manifest in this space and in this role. And who knows what will come of it, and what links might come of it, not necessarily human links, but even thinking and approaches and all manner of different things that I can take from that going forward. So I'm very excited.
You sound excited. I can see all the excitement happening.
That's what really, really, really makes my heart sing. So
that's amazing. Okay, so thinking about your, I guess, the end goal of the coaching.
I'm so sorry. The sun was
no, it's fine.
Shall I pull a blind? Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, that's fine. I'll sit back a little bit. That might be. Yeah.
So thinking about the end goal, so where you started and where you are now, can you see any differences, any tangible changes in your life from where you started and where you are now, or where you were at the end of our coaching together?
Yes, I still see myself as moving ever closer to where I want to go, but I'm not measuring my success by, I don't know, is it in finite times, I want to say, terms? I'm more interested, and I think also that's how God sees the whole thing, that he's more interested in the person that you're becoming than what you actually do. And my focus is more on what I'm learning, how I'm changing, and how I now know that in time, I don't know how. I'm not stressed. Okay, that's a good one, actually. I'm not stressing about the how. I really was stressing about the how and the when. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just being and allowing who I am and what God pours into me to pour out, knowing that all the time I'm doing this, I am becoming, and in becoming, I will find myself where I should be, and I'm not bothered about that now as much as I was. I really did tie myself up in all manner of knots as to why I'm not moving forward, whereas the focus of moving, what do I count as moving forward, has changed, if that's what.
But that's not to say that, I mean, I know because I've obviously had conversations with you as well, that's not to say that you haven't seen any kind of progress. I guess the key thing is that that's not the main thing for you anymore. That's the by the by.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So based on your experience and what you've gotten out of our coaching time together, who do you think would most benefit from working with me?
That's an interesting question, because to my mind, I've only met Florence on one level, and I'm sure there's very many aspects to Florence other than my particular bit. But if you're in a rut, if you're frustrated with where you're at, in the sense that you want to move forward towards your vision of who you should be, making those connects, if you're in a down and out, depressed sort of space, like I was, and you're seeking to understand yourself better so that you can get on with what you want to do, I think coaching's for you, and particularly coaching with Florence. Florence is a very still person. That's one of the things I very quickly learned during my coaching with her, was that she has this remarkable ability to just be still and look at you with those beautiful eyes while she has asked you some profound question that you have to go seriously deep into yourself to actually answer. And I'm thinking, okay, fill the gaps now, say something, but he doesn't. So you really do have to do that work. You really do have to dig in deep, because you're not going to get any fillers or help, in the sense of, she will gently prompt you, but she will really make you do that work in a very quiet, peaceful way, which is an amazing gift. I know I'm sort of probably talking off point now, but I think it's important that she has an amazing gift to be still and to just allow you the space to come to your own conclusions about the matter. I think seriously, if you're wanting to move forward with your goals, if you're in a space where you're feeling disempowered, and you need to get back in touch with the essence of who you are, then yeah, go for it. Go to Florence, please. You won't regret it. I don't.
Oh, thank you. That's so lovely. I paid you to say all of that, didn't I?
Of course.
Okay, so thank you very much. Is there anything else that you want to share before we call this conversation to an end?
No, I can't think of anything at the moment. No, it's just been an absolute pleasure. I'm certainly not the same space as I was. I'm happy with the way things are shaping up, and yeah, just really blessed. Thank you.
Fantastic. I love that. Okay, so I'm just going to end this by stopping the recording. So if you just hold on 1 second whilst I stop the recording.